On National Security Education Day, Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, Jia Baolong, said the city should stay alert to potential risks. Chief Executive John Lee said the government will complete Hong Kong's 5-year plan this year. Staff from the Fire Services Department testifies in one full court hearing. Good evening, welcome to TVB News. Today is National Security Education Day. Jia Baolong, Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, said Hong Kong should stay alert to potential risks that could impact the city's security and interests. He also urged the SAR government and all sectors in society to align with national development strategies. Samantha Lee reports.
The opening ceremony for National Security Education Day took place at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Centre this morning. In attendance were Chief Executive John Lee, Liaison Office Director Zhou Qi, Director of the Office for Safeguarding National Security Deng Jingwei, and Commissioner of the Foreign Ministry in Hong Kong Cui Jiancun. The theme for this year is proactively aligned with the 15th Five-Year Plan, follow a holistic approach to development and security. In a video address, Jia Baolong, Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, said security is the bedrock of Hong Kong's prosperity and stability, and urged the city to stay on guard at all times. He said some people with ulterior motives politicized the type of fire in an attempt to stir up chaos, warning that they may be still calculating their next move and waiting for a chance to strike back. He said only by holding the line on security can we secure our future, and Hong Kong should always remain vigilant against potential threats. As the Hong Kong government is drafting its first 5-year plan to align with the national 15th Five-Year Plan, Xia urges all sectors to support the plan. In particular, he hopes the business sector and entrepreneurs could serve as the main force driving the city's economic growth. He said Hong Kong is our shared home, and building a better Hong Kong is our collective responsibility. Xia said if all Hong Kong citizens can unite, they can write a new chapter for the Lion Rock legend. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee also delivered a speech at the National Security Education Day ceremony, saying that the government will proactively align with China's 15th Five-Year Plan and complete Hong Kong's first 5-year plan this year. Regarding the massive typhoon fire that claimed 168 lives, he pledged to hold those responsible accountable and review internal operations once the independent commission concludes its work. Samantha Lee has more.
In his speech, Chief Executive John Lee said Hong Kong still faces security threats, as stated in the State Council's white paper. As the city leader, Lee vowed to lead the SAR government in curbing activities that may endanger national security. He said some anti-China and external forces spread false information in an attempt to incite hatred and social unrest. He said those people tried to use the tragedy to cause trouble in Hong Kong, so the city should always stay consistently vigilant. He pledged to pursue accountability and implement systemic reforms after the independent committee's report is submitted. Meanwhile, Lee said the city's first 5-year plan will be completed within this year. This will provide clear directions for Hong Kong's social and economic development and unite all sectors of society to better integrate into the overall national development. Zhou Qi, Director of Beijing's Liaison Office in Hong Kong, said peace is not easily come by, noting that some countries are currently embroiled in war. Every citizen, he said, is both a beneficiary and a guardian of national security. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The independent committee investigating the typhoon fire questioned officials from the Fire Services Department and the police at the public hearing today. Mimosing Eye reports.
The public hearing continued at the City Gallery in Central. The first witness to testify was Sunny Wong, the Deputy Chief Fire Officer of the Fire Services Department who handles the Bureau's emergency call center. The committee heard that the center works closely with the police 999 call team. The police operator will first manage the emergency calls before transferring them to the FSD, once confirming that the incident is a fire. Victor Dawes, the committee's lead counsel, pointed out that the practice would mean callers need to repeat information to the FSD. Referring to the practice as long-standing, Wong said the department could improve manpower efficiency. Wong said the FSD's call center had 30 phone lines, while the police had more than 200 lines. A standing order of the FSD states that the process of obtaining information from callers shouldn't exceed a minute, but Wong said the average time spent on a call was between 5 and 6 minutes on the day of the blaze. The committee played a phone recording on the day of the blaze, which was from a trapped resident on the 17th floor of Wan Chen House. In the call, the woman said she was inside the toilet and saw thick smoke outside the block. The 999 operator asked if she needed help from the FSD, and the conversation ended with "call us back if you need." The FSD never received that call. The woman died in a fire. Dawes said the handling of that call wasn't ideal. Wong agreed. Zheng Shuk-ying, the officer in command of the Police Casualty Inquiry Unit, which answered calls from families and friends of Wangfu Court residents after the blaze, told the committee that the unit consisted of 6 teams. She said the force had deployed 50 staff for the occasion. Zhang Gazheng, officer in charge of the Police Disaster Victim Identification Unit, or DVIU, recalled his work process of recovering human remains inside the 7 burned-out one-foot blocks. Zhang said the unit's goal was to locate all the reported missing residents. Asked for his replies to speculation the DVIU could have missed bodies in the buildings, Zhang said it would be nearly impossible because members had searched every inch of the scene. He added that the team had once conducted 5 searches to locate 1 victim. Responding to comments that the committee should be granted statutory powers after some individuals have refused to testify at the hearing, the committee's chairman David Luke said they will announce their decision to the public in due time. Memos 9. TVB News.
US President Donald Trump said talks with Tehran could resume in the short term and that the war in Iran was very close to over. This, as the American military said, 10,000 personnel were deployed to enforce the blockade of Iranian ports, completely cutting off Tehran's international sea trade. US President Donald Trump on Tuesday morning gave Fox News his assessment of the state of the conflict, saying he sees it very close to completion and that Iran wants to make a deal very badly. Trump also noted there's still work to be done for the United States and claimed the Islamic Republic would need 20 years to rebuild if the US troops pull out of the country right now. Meanwhile, Trump told the New York Post a second round of talks aimed at ending the war with Iran could be happening over the next 2 days. This after the first round collapsed in the Pakistani capital without an agreement on Iran's nuclear ambitions, which the White House says is a sticking point. Trump had initially suggested the potential new round would likely happen somewhere in Europe, before hinting to stay put in Islamabad due to the outstanding mediation performance of Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff, Field Marshal Saeed Asim Munia. Vice President J.D. Vance, who headed the U.S. delegation last week, explained Trump's war strategy while addressing a rally in a Georgia college town.
Right now, the ceasefire is holding. And what you're seeing is what the president wants to make, he doesn't want to make like a small deal. He wants to make the grand bargain. But the reason why the deal is not yet done is because the president, he really wants a deal where Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon, Iran is not state-sponsoring terrorism, but also the people of Iran can thrive and prosper and join the world economy.
Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on Tuesday praised the anti-war positions demonstrated by China, Russia, Turkey, Italy, Egypt and Spain. He indicated that Tehran would abide by terms of the ceasefire agreement and carry on the negotiations with Washington under the framework of the international laws. Pezeshkian pointed out excessive U.S. demands blocked a deal in talks between the two sides. President Xi Jinping met with Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Beijing today. Lavrov said Russian President Vladimir Putin will visit China in the first half of the year. Xi said the comprehensive strategic relationship between Beijing and Moscow is developing at a high level. Lavrov is on a 2-day visit to China to boost bilateral ties and discuss the conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine. During the meeting, President Xi praised the cooperation and relationship between China and Russia and called for further strengthening bilateral ties. He said in the face of the turbulent international situation, the stability and certainty of China-Russia relations is particularly valuable. Lavrov said Russia was ready to help China and other countries affected by the Middle East crisis with energy supplies. Lavrov also said that Russia and China had all the necessary means to avoid reliance on what he described as U.S. efforts to disrupt global energy markets through conflict in the Middle East. U.S. President Donald Trump's son Eric Trump and his wife Lara will reportedly accompany him on his trip next month to China. The spokeswoman for the Trump family said Eric Trump, who manages his father's business empire, would go in a personal capacity. The spokeswoman said Eric Trump does not have business ventures in China, nor plans on doing business in China, and will not be participating in private meetings, but will instead stand alongside his father, President Trump, to mark this historic occasion. The move could nonetheless raise concerns in Washington, given that the billionaire ex-developer's personal wealth and business dealings are managed by his family. Trump had criticized his Democratic predecessor, Joe Biden, for his son Hunter accompanying him to China when Biden was vice president. The 139th edition of the Canton Fair in Guangzhou has drawn a record number of over 32,000 participating companies that span from AI, 5G, smart wearables to consumer drones. The venue of the fair was packed with crowds on the opening day as industrial machinery and vehicles were on display. An electric vehicle exporter from Chongqing said this is the 10th year of their participation in the event, but expressed concerns about the Middle East tensions and their impact on the volume of business, citing security risks in Qatar and Dubai. Over 21,000 buyers have registered at this year's Canton Fair. New energy products won the favor of customers from around the world amid recent hikes in fuel prices. The fair, running through May the 5th, is staged across 3 phases. The second phase, dedicated to household goods, will start next Thursday. And still ahead, negotiation talks between Israel and Lebanon took place in the U.S. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni criticized Donald Trump, and Trump hit back. And community living room with halal food preparation area opened in Yangmate. Welcome back. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. said the first negotiation talks between Israel and Lebanon to end their latest conflict were positive. However, on the day of the discussions, incoming fire triggered non-stop drone and rocket alert sirens in Israeli communities near the Lebanese border. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Lebanon and Israel held their first direct talks in decades as fighting between Israel and Hezbollah rocks southern Lebanon. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio joined the Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors for the discussions in Washington, D.C. Speaking after the talks, Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Yehia Leiter described the meeting among the U.S., Israel and Lebanon in an extremely positive tone, despite Rubio earlier describing the gathering as part of a longer process.
We discovered today that we're on the same side of the equation, and that's the most positive thing we could have come away with. We are both united in liberating Lebanon from an occupation power dominated by Iran called Hezbollah. Lebanon is under their occupation, and we are suffering from their constant barrages of missiles and terror attacks trying to cross our border. And Iran has been weakened. Hezbollah is dramatically weakened. This is an opportunity. This is the first time our two countries are sitting together in over 3 decades. Let's feel the moment. Let's enjoy the moment. And we enjoyed it together. And we had a wonderful exchange of over 2 hours.
The two sides, however, laid out different expectations on a peace deal. Israel expressed support for the dismantling of all non-state armed forces within Lebanon and the removal of related terror infrastructure, pledging to resolve differences through direct negotiations in pursuit of lasting peace and regional stability. Lebanon reaffirmed the need for full implementation of the ceasefire statement issued in November 2024, underscoring its national sovereignty and territorial integrity, and calling for concrete steps to address the severe humanitarian crisis resulting from the ongoing conflict. However, Hezbollah told the Associated Press it will not abide by any agreement. On the day of the discussions, incoming fire triggered non-stop drone and rocket alert sirens in Israeli communities near the Lebanese border. General TV News.
Donald Trump has lashed out at one of his closest allies, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, over her failure to join the US-Israeli attacks on Iran. Earlier, Meloni pushed back on Trump's broadside against Pope Leo XIV and announced suspension of automatic renewal of Italy's defense agreement with Israel. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was at the International Wine Fair Vinitaly in Verona on Tuesday and affirmed that Italy sees the United States as one of its most important allies. But Meloni pointed out that alliances require candor and claimed that they would act accordingly when there are things they do not agree with. The feud between Pope Leo XIV and the US president escalated in recent days. Trump repeatedly said Leo was weak on crime and captive to the radical left after the Chicago-born Pope criticized Trump's threats to Iran. Meloni expressed a solidarity with Pope Leo, saying Trump's aggressive rhetoric with regards to the pontiff is unacceptable. She wrote in a statement that the Pope is the head of the Catholic Church and it is right and proper that he calls for peace and condemn all forms of war. The Italian leader further announced the suspension of a defense pact with Israel involving the exchange of military equipment and technology research in light of the current situation. The agreement signed in 2016 is set to be renewed this year following a 5-year extension in 2021. Trump, in response, told an Italian newspaper that he is shocked at Meloni for not wanting to help the US in the war. He bemoaned Europeans are paying the world's highest energy costs, energy that comes from the Strait of Hormuz. Yet, Italy and other NATO members are reluctant to join the fighting to reopen the waterway. Trump also used the interview to launch a fresh attack on the Pope, saying he has no idea what's going on and doesn't understand Iran's nuclear threat. Pope Leo set off for Cameroon on Wednesday, where he is expected to appeal for peace in the conflict in the country's English-speaking regions on the second leg of a 10-day tour of the 4 American countries. A large-scale farewell ceremony was held for the pontiff before his departure from Algeria. During his visit to Algeria, the Pope blasted violations of international law by neo-colonial world powers. The Pope's visit to Cameroon is expected to include calls for peace amid ongoing clashes in the country between government forces and separatist groups in its 2 Anglophone regions. Britain's Prince Harry visited Canberra today, where he participated in an Indigenous smoking ceremony at the Australian War Memorial. Harry laid a wreath and wafted in smoke from a fire pit of burning leaves at the 4 Our Country Memorial, honouring the military service of Indigenous and Australian personnel. Harry and his wife Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, arrived in Melbourne on Tuesday for their first Australian visit since their official royal tour in 2018. The lower-key 4-day Australian visit comes after the couple announced in 2020 that they plan to step back as senior royals. The Yamate Community Living Room has opened, featuring a halal food preparation area to cater to the area's ethnic minority residents. Located at 573 Nathan Road, the Community Living Room has an area of 4,900 square feet and is open from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. There is a children's playroom, a music room, and a laundry room. There is also a halal food preparation room for residents of different cultural and religious backgrounds. The tableware will be labeled with the English word halal for easy identification. The kitchen is divided into non-halal and halal areas with different styles for cookware and all cooking utensils. Halal cookware cannot be used for non-halal dishes such as cooking pork or lard. Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration Chek Wing-hing expects the community living room would serve 500 subdivided flat households in the area, benefiting 80,000 people annually. A 21-year-old man was injured after falling from his flat in Gold Coast to a moon. The incident happened at around 7 a.m. this morning. Sources say the man went to the toilet after waking up. He then realized that the lock of the toilet was broken and decided to leave the bathroom by climbing out the window. But he fell onto the patio in the process and injured his legs and waist. He was sent to Two Moon Hospital for treatment. A female retiree fell victim to an online investment scam, suffering a loss of $26 million. This as the police received a report from the 63-year-old woman who said she met an investment expert online. She said the man instructed her to pass $26 million in cash and gold bars valued at $430,000 to 14 people. She realized she had likely been deceived after doing so. No arrest has been made so far. Next Saturday is Hong Kong Cinema Day, with 52 cinemas offering a flat ticket price of $30. The Cinema Association said all screenings next Saturday, including VIP screenings, will have a flat ticket price of $30. Tickets will go on sale at each cinema and online starting at noon next Wednesday, with a limit of 4 tickets per person. The Cultural and Creative Industries Development Council is sponsoring the event. The council said the past 3 cinema days attracted over 600,000 attendees and received an enthusiastic response. They believe the event can support the Hong Kong film industry and stimulate related consumption. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.